Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, welcome. So happy to have you. If you're new here, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Hayden. I specialize in beauty, lifestyle, fashion, content, and sometimes I like to do little spiels on story times, advice, videos. So if you're here for that, welcome. I know it's been such a long time since I filmed anything. I have been so incredibly busy these past several months. I now run 2 businesses, so that has been taking up a lot of my time, but everything is going well work-wise, and I've had so much going on with my family and moving and all this different stuff. But I thought since I had a moment to myself, I wanted to sit down and catch up with you guys. I also felt really compelled to come on here because I just realized that this month is my 2-year gradiversary from college. And to some people that might not be a big deal, but to me it's a huge deal because I'm so proud of how far I've come since that time in my life. And I know there's a lot of people, with graduation season. I have cousins graduating high school and college, and then I have 2 half-sisters who are about to graduate high school in the next year or so. So I just wanted to share some of my experiences, the last couple of years since I left college, and just kind of share some advice that I have been thinking about and wanted to just get out in the open. Whoever is going through these seasons of change, I hope that this video finds you and helps you, and at least if it's a little nudge of support saying you're doing amazing, that is what I hope to get out of this video, or at least to give back into the world. So long story short, so I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I cannot believe it's been 2 years since I graduated from college. So I went to Northern Arizona University. Not saying that has any connotation to anything, but I graduated summa cum laude. I worked my ass off to get to that point. I was really proud of myself, but looking back at that time of my life, my family was so excited for me to graduate. They were literally counting down the days until I went up on that stage. And even when I got my cap and gown and my dress and everything ready to go, I was so excited. For full transparency though, I was doing all online classes for most of my time in college. But the thing is, while everyone else was so excited for me, I had such a hard time being excited. To be fully transparent though, at that time I was struggling a lot mentally and emotionally. I had a lot of PTSD from a car accident that I had just gotten into not even a week or 2 after starting my senior year. So I was pretty traumatized by that. I had a lot of PTSD from that car accident because I was T-boned basically straight on impact, and I'm just so lucky that I made it out on the other side, because I think in my head I was just really depressed, and it's just a whole nother story. But I was just going through a lot at that time, mentally and emotionally, not just from the car accident, but I'm the type of person who does not do well if I'm so used to having things my routines and structure. So if there are big changes in my life, it does take a while for me to adjust to that. So because I was in school full time for 7 years at that point, 3 of those years were in community college, and then I transferred to university. That was such a huge part of my life and my identity at the time and my routine, that I was so scared and nervous about the unknown, and uncertainty sometimes intimidates me because it's hard to really know what's next. And you know, I'm always used to having everything like planned out, you know, my life, my future, especially back then. And that was another reason too why I was struggling so much mentally and I couldn't be present and excited to graduate, was with all of that going on with my PTSD. I had moderate depression, but I had really severe anxiety that I was dealing with for half of my life. I first started noticing signs of it when I was 11, and then it took me almost till I was 25, so shortly after I graduated college, to overcome it. My point is, I was just struggling a lot back then with anxiety and overthinking and just being in my head way too much. So I couldn't really allow myself to be present, and well, I tried to be present by just like staying in the moment, but it felt like everybody else was so excited for my future. And so I think in that part, like a big reason why I was upset, you know, like not excited to graduate, was like, okay, well, once that day comes, then all this uncertainty in my life is going to come in and just come to the surface. And I was scared. I didn't know what that looked like for me. So when I was in college, I majored in applied human behavior, which is another fancy way of saying I was going to be a psych major. That was what I started with in community college. I changed my major a few times while I was at PVCC. And then once I transferred to NAU, I was in this transfer program, which I was able to do the applied human behavior because it just worked out better for me credit-wise. So anyways, I really enjoyed a lot of my classes in my senior year of college, because I did NAU online for my senior year, and then I was doing like my prereqs through my community college. Anyways, that's besides the point. So I thought I was going to be a therapist. At the time that I was getting ready to graduate college, I thought I wanted to work with people on the autism spectrum, because I was diagnosed at a very early age, but through extensive therapy that my family got for me, I was able to work through it and overcome it. And I actually tested neurotypical when I was 16, and so I was a junior in high school at that time. So it's not that I don't identify with being on the spectrum anymore. It's just something that was a part of my past, but it doesn't define who I am as a person now, if that makes sense. Anyways, I am all over the place. I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet as much as I can, because I know I tend to ramble on a lot. So bear with me. I haven't filmed in a while either. But let's see. Anyways, so I wish back then I was really just not so in my head so much about certain things, just trusting that it will all work out. And I think at that time I also felt like this impending sense of like feeling like I needed to keep up with the Joneses, because a lot of people in my cohort in college were at different stages in their life. Some of them were married, having kids, you know, and that sort of thing, or, you know, just in different situations than I was in. And so I had to remind myself a lot of that time that I was on my own perfect timeline. And what I mean by that is, like, just because I didn't graduate at 22, like a lot of other people tend to graduate college, you know, I am exactly where I was supposed to be. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And, you know, of course, like, back to the whole therapist thing. So I thought I wanted to become a therapist and possibly work with people on the spectrum and, you know, or families, or, you know, and that sort of thing. And so I thought that was what I wanted to do. But then once it got closer to graduation, I knew in the back of my mind that I did not want to go back for a master's. A big part of that was because, you know, just financial reasons, but also I have been putting myself through so much with just focusing on school full time for 7 years that I was just feeling like a mental burnout from it all. So I'm actually glad that it didn't work out the way that I thought it would, because a lot of things happened in my life shortly after I graduated college. So that summer in particular, my family had recommended for me to go into EMDR therapy. And if you guys are not familiar with that, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's highly recommended for people who have a lot of trauma or PTSD. So I think they were trying to get me to do EMDR for like, at least since I was a freshman in high school. But I think everything happens when it was supposed to time-wise, because I think at that time I needed it. I was ready for it. And if I did not have that in my life, at least the therapy portion, because therapy has helped me a lot in the past, just kind of sorting through my emotions. But, what am I going to say? Oh, because I was going through so much, I feel like if I didn't have that therapy at that time in my life, I would have gone down a very scary downward spiral. I probably would have been doing things that I probably would have been self-destructive for me, just to put it blankly. So anyways, so I was in EMDR. I did that for about 6 months, and I cannot tell you how much of a difference I noticed after going through that. Like with my mental state improved significantly. One big thing I learned about myself was I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, which honestly makes a lot of sense because I did have quite a bit of childhood trauma growing up, leading up to the car accident I had most recently at that point, and then starting EMDR. So it made a lot more sense once I started to understand myself and why I went through the things I went through. And then, you know, just thinking back to various relationships I had in my past, and especially with my family, and how unhealthy they were for me. I learned how to set boundaries that were necessary. But aside from that though, like, what am I saying? Oh, I remember my point. So after I went through EMDR, you know, I was in a tough spot for a bit with my career. I was trying to figure out what to do next since I wasn't going to get my master's. So for several months at that point, or not several, but at least a few months, my mom had at that time just started our family business, our initial one, the estate sale company, and she had been begging me for months to come join her and come work for her and essentially work for myself. But she had been encouraging me to do that, and I was so scared to take the leap because it was so, at that time, it felt like so far outside of my comfort zone. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do in this field, blah, blah, blah. Just like doubting myself, really. But as soon as one of the biggest lessons I learned in EMDR was to trust myself fully, and just know that like whatever decisions I'm making are for, you know, are for the best and to help me and not to hinder me, and just not be in my head so much, you know? So, once I decided to trust myself, at this point, I had tried a couple different jobs working from home, and I was not happy. It was a field that I was not really excited about, but I was trying to do it to push myself a little bit, you know? I was only in the job 2 days, and I was like, this isn't working for me. So between that and another realization I had at that point, I decided to take my mom up on her offer. And so I graduated in May 2024. I went through started EMDR in July, and then I joined my family's business in October 2024. And I cannot tell you guys how much my life has changed for the better, how much trusting myself has really paid off. I am so happy I did that, because I am the happiest I've ever been. I love my job. I love what I do. Everything is different. Every day is different. And I have learned so many skills working alongside my mom and my family and just doing a lot of different tasks and also just getting promoted so quickly and recognized for my efforts. I truly felt valued, and the type of value that I would probably never have been able to feel if I just stuck it out in like a corporate job, or if I wanted to go in a field relevant to my major, which would have taken me a lot longer to accomplish. I just was so proud of myself because it allowed me to grow so much as a person. And, it led to so many new opportunities for myself that I couldn't have even imagined, from different streams of income to people I've met, even starting our second business. I am just so proud of myself and how far I've come. So with that being said, I just wanted to remind some people, what the hell am I saying? Another exciting thing is since I was in EMDR, my anxiety has gone down tremendously. I'm a lot happier and more at peace these days. And I also wanted to address another elephant in the room. I have lost weight since the last time I filmed. I lost a considerable amount of weight. But rest assured, I did it all in a healthy way, and I'm sure some of you might look at me before and be like, "Hey, you didn't need to do that. Like, you look fine to me." But I'm not doing it for anybody else. I did this for myself, and I did it for my health. And I cannot tell you how much happier I am, not just mentally and emotionally, just working through those hurdles that I had, but physically. I'm at my most confident that I've ever been in my skin, in my body, and I'm sure it shows. Like, it's kind of an unreal, like how much that can change a person's self-esteem. And another thing I also remembered from that time was because of my physical appearance, I felt really self-conscious, and I couldn't even enjoy it. Like, I didn't even take pictures, do like a fun grad photo shoot before my graduation because I was so self-conscious and I hated the way that I felt in my skin. And it was tough, but I'm glad to be on the other side of it now. And rest assured, and another thing about my weight loss too, like, I obviously did it in a healthy way, but I also want to remind people, like, if you need help, it's okay to ask for it. Like, if you've tried everything and you're not seeing a result, it's okay to ask for help. But that's all I'm going to say about that, because weight loss is just a very personal subject and journey. And of course, like, I've shared a lot about my life over the years, but I also want to be a little bit discerning about what I put out there. So, I don't even remember what my point was about all of this. But with that being said, I think the past couple years, I've been on this transformational journey. That was my point. So the first part of my journey was the mental and emotional side, and working through my anxiety, overcoming my depression and complex PTSD, trying to mend relationships with my family the best that I can. Also, professionally and how much I've grown, being okay with not doing something that wasn't in alignment with my major actually turned out to be the best thing that I could have ever done. And trusting myself, joining my family's businesses was the best decision I have ever made. And I do not regret it at all, especially in the age of AI, with everything changing so rapidly with the job market and careers. And I'm surprised that I was able to get through college just without using ChatGPT. because now as a business owner, I rely on it so heavily these days. It's kind of embarrassing to admit. But I mean, I did use it Grammarly for like grammar checking, but that's different. Anyways, oh yeah, so the first part of my journey was mental and emotional transformation. And then this past year has been the physical side of my transformation. And actually I just realized it was a year ago today that I started my weight loss journey. And I am just, when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm just so proud of how far I've come and how much I have let go of. That was truly holding me back. And I also, you know, as I've been on this journey too, I've learned so much about how to properly nourish my body, how to properly take care of myself, exercise, putting the right foods together. And I've actually been inspired to cook more, which is absolutely crazy. I never thought I would say that. I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't inspired before, but you know, it was a little bit harder for me at that time. But my point is, yeah, it's been a year today since I started my journey, and you know, I'm at a really good place. I'm at the healthiest weight I've ever been. Of course, I might want to lose a few more pounds, but other than that, I think moving forward, I've been really spending a lot of time at the gym. I really am determined to start bulking up for the rest of the year, just focusing on building strength and training more in those areas and just changing up what I do for my workouts too. So I'm really happy. I'm really proud of myself. And that concludes, well, doesn't conclude it yet, but that leads me to some advice that I wanted to give to my viewers, anybody who's watching this. If you are first of all, I'll kind of start by giving some advice for like high school graduates and then college graduates and then go from there. So for all of my upcoming high school grads or people or my peeps who just graduated high school, congratulations. You deserve everything and more that the world has to give to you. And, you know, if you decide to go to college, that's amazing. And I think you are going to do wonderful things. But if college isn't for you, that is completely okay too, because some people aren't meant to do that. And, you know, one thing I've learned is that it's okay to not know what you want to do in life, because, you know, yes, you'll have a major, but then you'll probably change it in a few months. Like, I can't tell you how many times I changed mine once I got started. But also just have fun, enjoy the process. And, you know, just don't beat yourself up too much. Don't compare yourself too much to other people and their journeys, because everybody's different. Everyone has a different goal, a different agenda, different priorities in life. I mean, we all have the same priorities, is working hard and, you know, finding what we want to do. But, you know, it's such a precious time in your life, and just make the most of it, you know? And then for my college grads, congrats. I'm so proud of you guys. You are awesome. What am I saying? Oh, for my college grads, this can apply to anyone if you're going through associates, bachelor's, master's, whatever. You know, the job market can be a lot, as I have previously mentioned, but you know, if you are the type of person who does not really care for the corporate environment, I don't blame you. And, you know, start your own business if you want. Like, do what inspires you. But, you know, as long as you're putting in the work to get where you want to go, I think that ultimately makes a huge difference. And, you know, what the heck was I saying? You know, it's been so long since I filmed anything. So if I'm a little awkward, a little rusty, I do apologize. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. I'm gonna try and film a little bit more consistently as I go on about my life, but I can't guarantee a consistent uploading schedule because, again, I've got so much on my plate outside of YouTube. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all. And if you're new, make sure to subscribe and follow for more content like this. All right, thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. Until next time, stay sassy.